This is Beyond the Numbers, coming to you live from our studios here at Kukumlemle in Accra.
The trends in revenue from cocoa prices and exports in Galamsey. Winston.
All right, are you aware that foreign account holders in commercial banks are being charged $20 even after charging $3 on every withdrawal? I am Winston, Tackie, and I'll be doing this surgical analysis with Isaac Kofi alongside
Ziblim. We'll be right back after this short break.
Welcome back to Beyond the Numbers Live here. We're also live on our Facebook and also YouTube channel. Make sure you comment below and we'll be bringing you up-to-date information, especially on the sectors we're touching on today. We'll be moving to the banking sector shortly and we'll delve into the cocoa sector to assess the current trend based on information supplied by Cocoa Board that there's going to be an increase in the next 2024-2025 cocoa season of about 45% increase in farm gate price. We'll assess it, assess the impact, and also get to you with the various challenges affecting the sector. Now, I'm sure many of you who own foreign accounts saw text messages or probably did not see text message nonetheless, but experienced some amount of $20 being charged on for just owning the account, and also some conversation has come back to life. We're moving straight to the conversation to assess what it means basically for account holders. I'm here with Caleb, and also we'll be joined on Zoom by Kofi Ajay, who will give us up-to-date information on this particular conversation as well. Kofi, it's good to see you.
Good to see you guys, Winston and Caleb.
Great, great. Now let's move back to the slides and see. As you can see, charges on foreign account currency being $20. Let me get Caleb. What led to this particular directive, basically?
Yeah, so the Bank of Ghana has introduced a new directive, and they are telling, if you can go to the next slide, they are telling banks that they should increase their foreign reserves in cedis, which means that the foreign reserve the banks have, they should convert most of it into cedis and keep that. So now this has increased the operational cost for banks, which means that any foreign currency they have to convert it to cedis. And you know the main problem here is our exchange rates, because when you're converting it back into the foreign currency, you might have a haircut or you might receive some potential losses. So now the banks are trying to mitigate that loss by charging account holders some fees so that if they are converting the cedis back to their foreign currency, they don't have to hold too much. They don't have to take too much loss. Yeah.
Already, the banks have experienced a lot of turmoil for the past 7 years. Banks have seen banking sector clear up. They've experienced the shortcut. They've experienced. It's as if the focus has always been on the banks, which has been the fulcrum of our financial sector. Kofi Ajay, if you listen to me, I want to understand from your perspective, especially when we look at how important foreign accounts are, especially for individuals, those who are going to school in foreign countries, they need to ensure they have enough money in a foreign account. Those who transact businesses see this account as critical for ensure their transaction are carried out effortlessly in foreign currency. What do you make of this as well?
Well, for me, I think Caleb said it right. It all began as a result of the current cash reserve ratio that we have. And when Bank of Ghana introduced this new measure, I remember myself and Dr. Etienne, we wrote extensively about this and said that, look, if we do not really calculate this really well, it will come back to hurt the banks. Because essentially what happens is that whatever reserve that the banks have or whatever deposit that the banks have, whether being, foreign or whether being in the local currency, they have to send a component to the Bank of Ghana, and that money is supposed to be kept there without interest. So what happens is that the reason why Bank of Ghana is doing this is because of the mammoth loss that they experienced in 2022. And in fact, if you have high cash reserve ratios and banks are sending majority of what they are able to get from depositors to Bank of Ghana, essentially Bank of Ghana ends up lending it back to the banks at an interest, and that becomes a form of raising their profit. And that's the reason why in 2023 we saw their losses reducing from $60 billion to $10 billion.
Okay, that makes sense, especially to the banks who basically depend on this for their operation, and they intend to see this as a cushion going forward. Now, we were just touching on this briefly and get to the key issue that has to do with the cocoa sector. The number you see behind me right now tells a very interesting story, especially the historical outlook of our cocoa sector. Now, in cocoa sector, our revenue between 2024 2023 and 2024 declined by $693 million. And there is a story behind this number here. And we'll go straight to the cocoa sector. Consistently, the challenge has been the impact of galamsey on our operation. Now, we'll delve deeper to understand what led to these numbers. Caleb.
Yeah, so we touched on it briefly last week when we were talking about galamsey and the cocoa sector. So between 2023, the first two quarters of 2023 and 2024, we've seen a decline of about almost $700 million. So if you look at the trend, you can see that every year we average about more than $1 billion in the first two quarters of the year. But this year, in the first two quarters, we made $760 million in cocoa exports, and that's a significant drop. Because if you look at the trend, we've always been above $1 billion.
Our highest year being 2021, where we made $1.7 billion profit in cocoa revenue.
And that was when we had our highest cocoa production yet in 2021. And that's also where we received the highest export revenue from there. Also, we can see that this year, the drop in our revenue from our cocoa exports is primarily because of the fact that we're not producing so much cocoa. And that's because of, well, like we said last week, the galamsey issue. We also said smuggling is a major concern. We'll get into that soon. Smuggling as well. And then the adverse weather effects. El Nino had this impact on the farmers. So all these things come into play, and then they resulted in this.
Some will say challenge of just smuggling, it needs to be addressed as soon as possible, because if the prices are not made fair for the farmers, they will find the need to sell to outsiders or smuggle it outside the country in order to get a better profit on their investment, because they invest so much. Look at the fertilizer challenges that was addressed by the Cocoa Board. Cocoa Board gives them free fertilizer, and after using the fertilizer, making the harvest, then it ends up being smuggled outside the country. Thereby, Cocoa Board not necessarily making the benefit from the operation, especially the value chain going forward. Now, what you see now is the farm gate price that has increased basically recently. So initially, the farm gate price was around 33,000, yes, 33,120, 33,120 Ghana cedis between 2023-2024 season, which was increased to 48,000 between 2024-2025 season. Caleb.
Yeah, so that's a 45% increment in the farm gate price. And Cocoa Board is doing, every year, Cocoa Board increases the farm gate price. But they're doing this to curb smuggling. Because if you recall, earlier this year, cocoa prices were about $10,000 per ton. And Cocoa Board, they were paying farmers 33,000 cedis per ton. And that's woefully inadequate. You know, so, and because of that, farmers decided to smuggle their cocoa beans outside the country and sell it to reap the benefits of this $10,000 on the world market. So Cocoa Board decided to increase the farm gates price for next season by 45%. Now the question is this 45% increment enough? Farmers say it's not enough. Because as you can see here, the farm gate price, if you convert it to dollars, is $3,096.
The current farm gate price.
Exactly, the current farm gate price.
Which is, okay.
$3,096. And the world market at the moment is selling at $7,960. So that's a difference of $4,864.
So this amount is not necessarily going back to the farmers.
It's not. And also, you know that Cocoa Board usually sells the cocoa in advance.
Yes.
So Cocoa Board doesn't necessarily benefit from fluctuations in the cocoa market. So when cocoa was selling for $10,000, Ghanaian farmers did not benefit from that. Exactly. So this year also, the new farm gate price is $4,000 less than the world market price. And this might cause farmers to go outside and to smuggle their beans outside and sell it to other people to reap the benefit. This is
enough motivation for farmers to entice them into smuggling within this period. Yes. Because for future prices, the increment of 45%, they can only benefit it in the next planting season or harvesting season. So the current price, which is basically around over $7,000 in the international market, they would like to benefit it now instead of waiting for the future. Nonetheless, the increment will give an incentive for farmers to now engage in long-term financing and investment into their farms instead of just looking at it in the current space. Nonetheless, it is still a challenge looking at where we are as a country with the challenges of galamsey and people finding it enticing to rather sell their lands for galamsey operations instead of focusing on the commodity cocoa.
So if you look at the increments in the farm gate price,
yes.
So we tracked the 2010 figure, the 2010 price, and the current 2024 price. And we saw that the jump from the 2010 price to the 2024 price is 1,900% higher. So this means that in 2024, we are 1,900% higher than the 2020 figure in cedis. But if you look at in dollar terms, and that's what the problem is, it's just 94% higher. This means that the exchange rate is having a big toll on how much farmers are earning from the farm gate price, despite the fact that it's increasing in cedis exponentially. Exactly. So to be able to make farmers happy, the exchange rate needs to be controlled. But also, we are seeing reduction in our export revenues from cocoa. And we need more dollars coming in at this crucial point because of how the city is behaving at this moment. We need more stability. And without the dollars coming in, we don't have that stability.
Now, let me bring Kofi back into the conversation. Kofi, this announcement probably has a tendency to spark interest, especially in cocoa buyers in the international market. What do you think the market may react, especially based on this announcement by Cocoa Board?
Well, already the trading houses, the international trading houses, don't want to do business with us anymore. And why do I say so? It's the reason why Cocoa Board is doing self-financing this season. And just like you and Caleb put it, we do not have enough beans to even go into the market and say, look, we want 1.5 billion cocoa syndicated loan. This is the reason why I must say again that Cocoa Board is doing the self-financing. And if you look at the revenue drop, it's mainly because of illegal mining and the swollen shoot diseases. You can overlook the effect of illegal mining, but it's the main reason why we are not capitalizing on cocoa. And then also smuggling, which this season is estimated that it took away, last season took away some 200,000 tons of cocoa. We were able to produce 500,000. So if smuggling alone took away 200,000, that tells you the magnitude of, the negative impact that smuggling is putting on our cocoa. So on the side of investors, they want assurance because already Ghana defaulted in some of the cocoa that it was supposed to, send to the farmers last season. They could not the farmers, but I mean the trading houses last season. They could not supply these beans because we did not have enough.
Initially, the target was around 850,000 in the year.
And this is a season. The season that started about just 2 days ago is a season that we are hoping that the cocoa beans that we defaulted will be able to supply them this season. But because of what we experienced last season, the trading houses claim that just by trading with Ghana, they lost about $1.4 billion. And that's the reason why they are placing a lot of risk or premium on Ghana's cocoa. And that's why we have to pay higher interest or coupon rates when we go to the syndicated loan market. And the more reason why we cannot get a 1.5 million and Cocoa Board has to do self-financing.
Let me understand something. If you look at the cocoa industry, Ghana is positioned as the country with the most premium quality cocoa in the international market. Looking at our position and how much it contributes to our overall GDP and also the stability of our currency, what do we tend to lose as a nation going into this season, considering our current challenges that Cocoa Board has come forth to express basically to the farmers and also to investors?
Well, when cocoa is in trouble, the Ghanaian economy is definitely in trouble because there's that direct correlation there. In terms of the top three earners of foreign exchange, I'm talking about gold, cocoa, and oil. It is only cocoa that we can boldly say we gain or we earn about 90% of whatever we export. Gold, we end up getting about just 13%. And oil, we know it's just about between 10 and 15%. It's only cocoa that we can boldly say that whatever we export, we get 90% or even sometimes 100% of everything. Now, when we are not able to do the forward sales this year, it simply means that the expected foreign exchange that we need to shore up the city to stabilize the economy will not come in. Remember, when the finance minister gave that speech, he said that, or even in the mid-year budget, he said in the last quarter of this year, we are expecting about $2.9 billion to stabilize the economy and then also the local currency. And the biggest component of that money was supposed to come from cocoa syndicated loan, $1.5 billion. Now, if we say that we are going to do self-financing, it means that there's no way we are going to get that magnitude of money coming in the last quarter of this year. And it tells you that going into the first quarter, we are also going to struggle. The only way is when Ghana is able to capitalize on what is happening in the international markets or in the futures and able to sell the cocoa maybe at $7,000 or $8,000. Other than that, the economy will struggle.
One thing the market, basically the finance ministry or let's say institutions who are in charge of this cocoa industry fail to understand is the importance of announcement. Many analysts in the international market have been observing the market for quite some time now. Whatever activity that happens on the ground, they are quite aware. So the announcement that was made by Cocoa Board that they will be going self-financing really triggered the market. It gave investors some kind of outlook that there will not be enough to stabilize our currency. Nonetheless, when it comes to buying from Ghana, the quality of our cocoa tends to be troubled, especially in areas where galamsey operations are happening. The quality of water used to farm on this galamsey, cocoa tracing became a very topical issue, especially during the EPA, environmental, that is European agreement that was going on, where Ghana is supposed to export some quantity of cocoa to Europe. The issue of tracing became challenging, especially making sure that no cocoa farming activities has child labor linkages to our product. So the new outlook and performance of our cocoa has become very critical. But before we go, Caleb, what I'm seeing now is the farm gate price increase per ton. What does it say of our current situation?
Well, so this talks about how weak our currency is.
Yes.
Because despite a 1,900% increments in the farm gate price, we see just a 94% increment. And now this comes back to the fact that we don't even have enough cocoa which is bringing enough dollars into the country to show up the city. And as Kofi also said, we are not getting the syndicated loans as big as we want anymore, which means that the dollars are not coming in anymore. So we need to find alternative ways to show up the city to be able to provide sustainable financing for our farmers. Because if the farmers see that the prices on the world markets are better than what Cocoa Board is providing them with, they're going to smuggle it out. And last year, we had 200,000 tons of cocoa smuggled out. This year, we might have more because prices this year are much better than prices last year.
Cocoa, its position in our country, its relevance in our economy shouldn't be underestimated. We are supposed to start planning ahead before most of these challenges that we've seen or experiencing are quite avoidable, except, let's say, the weather, El Nino, and all the challenges, especially that may have to be mitigated, but cannot necessarily be avoided. But most of it has to do with strategies. Looking at how many years Ghana has been farming cocoa and how critical it is to our economy, we should have known a lot of strategies and be teaching other African countries as well, making sure that our dominance is demonstrated across the nation. So today's edition of Beyond the Numbers, we touch on the dollar account currency and also the impact of these new announcement by Cocoa Board of an increment of 45% on farm gate prices. So make sure you stay tuned to us on Beyond the Numbers to bring more up-to-date information on what is happening on the farm gate price, especially across the district. My name is Winston Tackie. I was joined by Caleb and Kofi Ajay, who also joined us on Zoom. Kofi looking all fresh and all nice.
All the time.
Oh, yeah, all the time, yeah. Yeah, so we'll bring you same edition next week. Stay tuned. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.